Alright, welcome back. This is What If Deku was Shirou Emiya, Part 4. Where we last left off, we were about to get into the USJ, so let's pick up right there. And so, after they got changed and they were on the bus, Deku was kind of he was being silent. Not because he didn't want to really talk to anybody, but it's just that, killing Shinji was still on his mind. And what the Watchtower said about Shinji had been dead for 2 years, that's what's got him really thinking. He's just like, okay, he still bled. So, is it necromancy, or what could it be? And that's when he gets a text message. He looks, and he sees it's from Emiya. And, she says that after he left, the body changed. She was going to tell him last night, but he wasn't awake. And the reason she didn't tell him any sooner was because, she decided to take a nap. And just woke up. And so, Deku, he's like, what did it change to? And she said, a doll. It was a doll. And Deku's just like, a doll? She's like, yes, specifically a type of doll that could take the, soul of a person, bind it to it, and become that person. And he was like, so you mean someone binded his soul to a doll, and that's what I fought? She's like, yes, so technically you didn't kill a person. And Deku, he breathed a sigh of relief. He's like, and she's texting him, but you might have to soon. So you might want to resolve yourself to doing that. And she's like, but anyway, have a great day. Bye. And Deku, he's just thinking about that now. He has one thing lifted off his shoulders and another thing put right back on it. And he's just like, I don't want to have to kill somebody. But if that's the only way to save somebody, then I will. And he thinks back about how he acted with Kirei Kotomine. And he's like, I didn't even hesitate to stab him. He's like, true, I didn't go for a lethal blow, but torture wasn't above my tactics to get the information out of him. He starts to wonder if he already hasn't developed the mindset of a killer after all. And, that starts to kind of weigh on him a bit. The conflicting ideals that's going on in his head, wanting to be the ideal hero of justice versus becoming Kiriyutsugu. That's kind of what he's battling between right now. Knowing everything about Kiriyutsugu now, it's left him more confused and conflicted than ever before. And honestly, it's irritating him. It's making him so mad that he never saw the truth before, that he didn't see through what Kiritsugu was trying to convey to him versus what he was actually saying. And what's most of all is he doesn't know which ideal is right to go with. And, so he's really conflicted about his ideals and, what he should do. But, he puts that on a back burner and he's just like, he takes a deep breath, he remembers where he's at, and he tells himself, at least for now, I'll still be a hero of justice. Just like I wanted to. And he says, so for now, that's enough. And they arrive, they get off the bus, and they go into the USJ. 13 is there, all that practically just goes same as normal. The villains show up like normal, and, they try to attack. They separate them all, and, Deku he's still with Shirou and, Mineta. And that's when the villains start to emerge out of the water. And, Deku sees this. He's not really concerned with it. He's like, at least if you hit these guys where it hurts, they can't regenerate. Hopefully. Anyway, he's like, unlike the golems he's fought, these guys are going to be a piece of cake. And he's trying to formulate a plan, And then he just hears the most pathetic crying and groveling he's ever heard out of somebody. And he looks down and sees Mineta just going ape shit like crazy. Tears just falling out of his eyes, and, he's had enough of that. He picks Mineta up by his fucking collar of his shirt and tells him, look, you're training to be a hero. There are villains here. This is what you wanted, right? To be able to fight the villains, become popular? Isn't that it? And Mineta's like, well, yeah, but not right now. We're not even a hero, dude. He's like, villains aren't always going to wait until you're ready. Learn to deal with it, or you can just drop out now. He throws Mineta over to the edge of the boat, and he tells him and Asui to get to the shoreline. Deku will be alright. And, seeing how he's fought before, Asui's actually pretty confident that Deku, he's got this. So, she does what he says and just leaves. And Asui tells Mineta, like, he is right. And, Mineta's just like, how can he be so confident, though? And Asui says, well, I've seen him fight, and, he's very good at it, and he's incredibly strong. And she's like, the guys he fought ended up all having broken bones in several places from just one punch. And Mineta is just like, how is he that strong and quirkless? And, also he's just like, who knows, maybe he trained a whole lot. After all, he did go to school overseas before this, and You know, the villains, they start trying to come up to the boat. Deku's, you know, he's just knocking them out, like, as they come. But the numbers start to really take the boat. So that's when he summons, the black keys that he copied from Kirei. And he's throwing them and hitting people in the legs with them. And, he uses them for up close and distance fighting. And the more he uses them, the more he gets a good feel for them. He's like, this isn't my style, but for now, they do work as good crowd control items. He's like, maybe I should invest in the real thing. And, he clears out the villains. And then he moves on. He gets over to shore, and he meets up with Asui and Mineta. And they see the scene of Aizawa getting beaten by the Nomu and almost disintegrated by Shigaraki. But unlike in canon, Deku's not really the one to make a whole lot of the noise. So, I must say that the only reason Shigaraki really stops from disintegrating Aizawa is trying a bit of torture. It's like, so, tell me, where is All Might? And Aizawa's just like, All Might? He's like, so he's your target? And Shigaraki kicks him in the face, telling him, you're not the one here who's asking questions. And if I were you, I wouldn't be getting so cocky. But yes, he's the one we're here to kill. He's like, we might as well kill all of you, though. To help break the spirits of the world. And Aizawa, he's almost out cold because of the pain. Like, the pain is excruciating. And, Shigaraki's just like, oh no, don't go passing out now. And tells Nomu to step on his leg. Nomu does, and it completely breaks Aizawa's leg immediately. And he screams bloody murder. And it's just hard for Deku to even watch. And he realizes he's incredibly close to becoming like that. To becoming like a villain. And he's just like, I cannot be a hero of justice if I resort to that. And he realizes that deal with Kirei put him a lot closer to Kiritsugu than he's ever been before. And he's realized that the only reason that even happened was because he was studying Kiritsugu's notes, like his lifestyle. He was obsessed with the guy, with his father. And, that moment of clarity is where Deku jumps out of the water and it tries to attack both Shigaraki and the Nomu in order to save Aizawa at this point. And he's like, it's about time for him to start acting like the hero of justice he claims he's going to be. And, he goes straight on into there. And he's pretty much saying, damn the rules at this point of the clock tower. And he's using his magecraft. He immediately starts firing off all cylinders at the Nomu, because he knows the guy can obviously take the hits. But he is a bit surprised to see his swords are just literally cracking every time they hit him and breaking after a few hits, and not really doing much damage to him. So that's when Deku realizes that apparently swords would not be the best method to deal with this thing. Like, he's still breaking through the skin, and any normal opponent with super strength and durability would be, still be hurting, but the regeneration and what appears to be like just extreme durability on this guy is just not doing it. There's literally nothing his attacks are doing. So that's kind of when, he realizes he may need some backup for this. And, he realizes he could summon a servant right now if he had time to draw out the form for it, the circle. He could summon a servant, but then he realizes, what catalyst would he have? And, he's like, it wouldn't work unless he has a catalyst. And he's just like, oh well, it's better than nothing. And so he's trying to get some space and distance. And, it's not really going all that well, because Nomu is incredibly fast and is on him almost at every turn. And it's taking everything that, Deku's got to just dodge. Because he really can't counterattack at this point. And he's like, I've got to use it. And he just says it. Acceleration times 4. And he's going extremely fast at this point. And at this point, he's just like, there's no point in me trying to even summon a servant. Considering. And so he's going all out on the offensive, and, Nomu's at his max speed now, too, and, it's hard to see them fighting. Like, Deku's, summoning sword after sword and hitting him. The swords are cracking, and Deku's jumping, dodging, going between his legs, doing everything that he could possibly think of to damage this guy. And that's when Shigaraki's just laughing and saying that, he has shock absorption and regeneration. He's made the perfect weapon to kill All Might with. He's like, anything you do isn't going to hurt him all that much, if at all. And, Deku knows he's got to end this fast because his mana reserves are draining fast because of the acceleration. And so he's just like, alright, well, time to try something new. So he starts by just using the black keys that he copied from Kirei. And he's throwing them at a distance. And, he's gonna try something new. He's just making sure that they can be launched into the Nomu and hold. He's not trying to do any real damage yet. He's just striking strategically all the places where the black keys need to be. And then, as soon as he's got like 20 of the black keys in Nomu, he jumps onto Nomu's back in a hole and uses the spell Overgrowth, which causes the black keys' blades to swell and form into giant blades that are immediately growing longer and pushing further through Nomu's body at that point. And they went straight through the Nomu. And Deku, at that point, he's exhausted. His mana is completely drained at this point. So he's just on the ground, sweating profusely and just entirely just out of it. And Mineta and Asui, who saw the aftermath of it, is just like, where did those blades come from? But then they notice, Nomu is getting right back up. And it looks like he's pretty much fine. As while he's growing, the blades are just snapping in half and, disappearing completely. And Deku is so tired, he can barely even, walk or move at all. And he's definitely not got any type of magic left at this point. But he does realize his situation. If he takes one full-powered hit from Nomu, he's dead. And so, he's trying his best to run. And that's when Asui comes in and saves his ass. Uses her tongue to wrap around him and just pulls him. And just, when all hope seems lost, that's when All Might just comes breaking through the doors. And, he sees the situation and he's just bum rushing Nomu. And, Shigaraki's the one that tries to go after Deku while he's, kind of at a low point, so. But he's really not the type to go into the water, and Tsuyu just pulls Deku to the water onto her back, and keeping him there, because she can really just balance him better in the water anyway. So Shigaraki's just backing away and watching the fight. And then, he notices that the signal is clear. And he's like, the pros are going to be on their way now. We can't win if the number of pros increase. And he's like, well, the plan is over. And Kurogiri comes down there and they teleport away prematurely. Seeing as how, All Might is doing pretty well against the Nomu, that, it's best if they just retreat and leave the Nomu so that way they can guarantee and escape without taking any injuries. And, Shigaraki tells All For One about that, and, All For One's just like, so, what, he was able to make blades appear out of nowhere? It's just like, yep. Increase his movement speed? He's like, yep. I was like, interesting. I have allies that'll be very happy to hear about that. And, he's like, I hope you haven't killed him. And, Joker says, oh no, I wasn't able to get to him before All Might showed up and, the Nomu started losing. And he's like, well, knowing what I know now, it's not really surprising. He's like, after all, the Nomu did fight a mage and All Might. Shigaraki's like, mage? And All For One's like, don't worry about it. You'll know everything in time. But for now, focus on getting more recruits. And nothing else. He's like, once we build our numbers, then we'll be able to march. And All For One, he's got something sick and twisted in mind for All Might now. That he knows that All Might is working with a mage. Even though All Might doesn't know it. But still. And I'm going to say that besides Aizawa and 13, no one got hurt. Deku was just heavily fatigued. So he wasn't sent to Recovery Girl at all. So he just really got to leave, considering he could still walk. He was just heavily tired. And, so he heads home. And, he finds that nobody's there. Ilya's not here, neither her maids. He walks into the kitchen and he sees a note on the table. And Ilya says that, she'll be gone for a little bit, but she'll be back later on tonight. She just went to go see Tosaka to talk about some things. So Deku's like, okay. And, he thinks about it, and he's like, it'd probably be a good idea to try and have a servant. But he's like, I don't even have a catalyst, so what's the point? And, he's like, I just know the symbol for it, but they never really taught me the words to use either. So he kind of gives up on the point of it at the moment. He plans on having Tosaka, come by and teach him the enchantment. But at this current point in time, he'll just wait till after she's told him everything. So he sends her a text asking her to come over with Ilya later tonight. And, at that point, Deku, he's kind of frustrated. So he trains like never before to try to get a better handle on the acceleration. Since it's a skill he did have to use. And, he's thinking more and more about what he wants to be. But then he hears a noise. And he's like, Ilya, is that you? No reply. And he knows it's not her because he can't sense her magic. So he's walking through the house carefully, already weapons drawn, ready to kill a person if need be. And that's when it happens. He sees out of the corner of his eye and is barely able to dodge it, a red spear go right past his face. And he's like, he spins around and he's like, who the fuck are you? And all he gets as an answer is, so you were able to dodge that. You're not bad, kid. He's like, but you can just call me Lancer. I don't really have time to explain things to a dead man like yourself. And so he is fighting Lancer. And Lancer is not making it easy on him whatsoever. And so they're fighting, and it's pretty much going like how you'd expect it to go in canon. Even though Deku is stronger, he is still fatigued from today and his training. So his skills are nowhere near to being as sharp and precise now, since he is heavily fatigued. And that leads to, Lancer slashing him right across the chest and dropping Deku into a puddle of his own blood. And then he leaves. He just leaves Deku for dead. Which Deku would have been if, Rin and Emiya didn't get home right at that moment, sensing something was wrong, rushing in and finding him. And of course, Tosaka to the rescue with the necklace. And of course, she gives the necklace to Deku, and she's just like, it was her father's, but, you can use it. Once it's filled up with mana, it'll heal any wound of yours. And that's the only reason that she was able to save his life. And, Deku says, okay, he'll keep it. And, so, yeah, that happens, and, Deku's just immediately after that, he tries to get up, and that doesn't really work out too well for him. Because even though he's healed, he's still in a lot of pain, and he's still fatigued. Along with the blood loss and everything, he immediately faints once he gets up in a hurry. And Archer, helps out by putting him in a bed, and then, Archer's just like, we should be on our way back to the Tosaka estate. After all, once they find out that they failed and that we were involved in this, saving this boy, they're obviously going to try to attack us. And on that note, Tosaka says then it should be better to stay here. And Yulia's looking at her like, oh, she's like, well, you have Berserker, don't you? And he's like, yep, and Berserker's the strongest spirit ever. And, she's like, oh, do you want to join forces, Tosaka? And, Rin's just like, that's not a bad idea. Sure, I'll join forces with you. And Archer's just like, Alright. Well, at least I ain't gotta fight him. And, that's when Archer pulls out the other necklace, which Chosaka doesn't know it, but, she thinks it's the same one that Shirou has, and so he hands it to Tosaka and says, don't just leave this lying around somewhere, and don't just hand it over to anybody. It's important to you, so you should keep it on you at all times. And so she does, and she's blushing because she didn't know Archer cared at all about her. And, they choose to spend the night, and Deku, he doesn't go to school the next day because he's still sleeping. Like, he sleeps in big time because, after all, he was fatigued. But as it turns out, he wakes up late that day to a lot of missed calls and messages. And he's just scrolling through there, and he gets a text from Ida saying that, school's been put on a break after the villain attack. We got a month until school resumes again. Apparently they're rebuilding something. And it's going to take about a month to finish. But apparently we'll also be having the teachers meet up at our houses. So be prepared, I guess. He's telling Deku, and Deku's just like, I wonder what all this is about. But he really don't care at this point, because he still notices that Tosaka's here. And he's asked her, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, obviously the people that tried to kill you know that you're still alive, and they could come back. And since we helped keep you alive, that makes us a target now too. So we joined forces with Emiya, who is staying here, so we're staying here as sort of a precautionary measure. Deku's like, oh, good grief. He's like, alright. And Emiya's like, so, what were you reading? And, he's like, oh, it's a text from Ida saying that school's been, suspended for a month. And, Archer hears that and he's like, then that means you have a month to train. And Deku's like, huh? And Archer's like, I'm gonna train you. I'm gonna teach you how to defeat a heroic spirit. I hope you're ready. And Deku says, oh, I've already defeated heroic spirits in the past. And he's like, not one like the one attacked you last night. This spirit is obviously a high-class spirit who's been summoned for the sole reason of fighting in the Holy Grail War. You're not ready for them. And, he's like, you've probably only killed, the lowest of the low of servants, am I right? Deku's like, yeah, you're right. And, Archer's like, good. Now then, for first training, you're going to fight me in a life or death struggle. And, Deku's just like, what the fuck? Why? And Archer tells him, because I'm about to tell you my name. My name is Izuku Emiya. And that's where I'm going to leave it off for today. So, I just got to say, thank you guys for all the support you've been showing the video, all the views it's gotten. I really have no idea that it would get that many views or that it would do so well. And it's just shocking, honestly. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this video too. And if you did, like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.